There comes a time, my friends, when words lose their power, when explaining yourself feels like shouting into a storm that never listens back. You've given your heart, your time, your patience, hoping they would finally see your worth. But they didn't. So, you stopped. You stopped trying to be heard, stopped chasing their attention, stopped fighting for something that never fought for you. At first, it felt like surrender, like losing the game you gave everything to win. But slowly you realized, silence isn't defeat. Silence is strength. It's the calm after the storm, the kind that shakes the ground not through noise, but through peace. Folks, listen carefully. Silence has a language. It speaks louder than any argument, louder than any, "please don't go." It says, "I value myself enough to walk away." It says, "I don't need your validation to know my worth." In this world where everyone is screaming to be noticed, being quiet becomes your rebellion. You become like the moon. It says nothing, yet controls the tides. You say nothing, yet move hearts, memories, and minds without even being there. When you step back, when you stop explaining and stop chasing, you give people the gift of distance. And distance, my friends, is where truth reveals itself. That's when they start to see you everywhere, in a song, in a place you once visited, in the quiet moments before they sleep. The mind has a way of returning to what it cannot replace. The longer you say nothing, the louder your presence becomes inside their head. You become a thought they cannot silence, a feeling they cannot explain. Let's be real. People don't value what's always available. It's human nature. They need to lose access to finally understand what access meant. When you were always there, they felt in control. But when you walked away, you flipped the power. Suddenly, they are the ones checking their phone, wondering if you've moved on, wondering who gets your attention now. That silence becomes their new obsession. It's not revenge, it's balance. You stopped overgiving, and now the universe is showing them what absence feels like. You see, Stoicism isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about being calm in chaos. It's about knowing that your peace is more valuable than their attention. It's about understanding that not everyone deserves a front row seat to your energy. You don't beg for love, you embody it. You don't prove your worth, you live it. And that quiet confidence, that emotional control, that's what makes you unforgettable. Because when you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop talking, you start being heard. There's a quote I love: "Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers." And that's the truth most people can't handle. Your silence forces them to sit with their guilt, their pride, their mistakes. They'll try to fill it with distractions, but every distraction will fail, because deep down they know the peace you brought, the love you gave, the energy you carried, it's gone, and they'll never find it in anyone else. So stay calm, my friends. Don't break your silence just because you feel lonely for a while. Don't chase what's already walking away from your peace. Stand tall. Let time do the talking. Because one day they'll realize that the silence they ignored became the lesson they needed. You just have to hold your ground. Stay patient, stay powerful, stay silent. Now listen, my friends, don't just scroll past this. Don't just nod and move on like you always do after something hits deep. Take a second, let this sink in. You've been quiet, you've been patient, and maybe no one noticed yet. But I promise you, your silence is not weakness, it's transformation in progress. So I want you to declare it. Don't just think it, speak it into the world. Go down to the comments right now and write, "My silence speaks power." Say it like you mean it, because that's not just a quote, that's your turning point. Every time you write it, you remind your mind who you really are. Calm, strong, unshaken. This is how warriors speak without raising their voice. And if that truth lit something inside you, if it reminded you of your worth, your calm, your power, then don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button so this message reaches someone who needs to hear it tonight. Subscribe, stay close, and grow with me. We're not done. This is just the beginning of a stronger, quieter, more powerful you. Stay grounded, stay silent, stay unstoppable. Number 1. When you stopped chasing, the game changed. When you finally stopped chasing, something in the air changed. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was quiet, almost invisible, but that quiet held power. The same way the tide pulls back before a massive wave returns, your absence created a strange emptiness they couldn't explain. At first, they laughed it off. They'll come back, they told themselves. They always do. Because that's what your kindness taught them, that no matter how cold they acted, you'd show up again. You always did. Until this time, you didn't. And that silence. It started echoing louder than any words you ever spoke. At first, they didn't even notice. People rarely do. They thought you were playing a little game, taking a break, maybe trying to make them miss you. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks started to feel heavier, a strange realization crept in. Maybe you were serious this time. Maybe you were truly done. And that thought hit deeper than they expected. You see, people crave what they cannot control. And when you removed yourself, when you stopped chasing, they lost control. They lost the safety of knowing you'd always be there, waiting with open arms. That's when the game changed. Not for you, but for them. Now their mind starts to wander. Why aren't they texting? Did they find someone else? Have they finally moved on? These thoughts begin to creep in during the quiet hours of the night, the same hours they once spent ignoring your messages. That's the irony of human behavior, my friends. We often realize the value of something only after it's gone. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." They thought they were in control, but now they see. It was never fate that made them lose you. It was their own blindness. And maybe deep down, you're struggling too. Maybe you're tempted to reach out. You replay the old conversations, the good moments, the laughter that once felt so real. You think, maybe I should just check in, just one text, just one more try. But pause for a second. Ask yourself, who are you trying to save? Them or the old version of you that didn't know their own value? Sometimes we chase not because we want them, but because we fear being forgotten. But hear me clearly. Being forgotten by someone who didn't value you is not a loss, it's liberation. Let me tell you something, my friends. When you stop chasing, you stop feeding a one-sided illusion. You stop being the one who bends just to keep a connection alive. It's like watering a dead plant. No matter how much effort you pour, it won't bloom again. But the moment you stop, the moment you let it dry and walk away, something amazing happens. You start growing elsewhere. That's how power shifts. That's how you reclaim your peace. They thought your love was endless, but now they feel the end of it. They thought your patience was eternal, but now they see it had a limit, a sacred one. Your silence becomes the mirror they can't escape. Every time they scroll through their phone hoping for your name, that silence stares back at them, reminding them that they were once chosen. And they blew it. You don't need to send reminders. You don't need to prove anything. Time and silence are doing the talking for you. Some of you might be thinking, but what if they never come back? What if this silence becomes permanent? And that's the hardest part, the unknown. That's what makes this journey uncomfortable. Because silence doesn't give you instant answers. It gives you space. Space for truth. Space for healing. Space for growth. And growth, my friends, is often painful. It feels like something's breaking inside you, but it's not you breaking. It's your old habits, your old need for approval, your old addiction to being chosen. The pain you feel right now is not punishment, it's purification. You are learning to sit with yourself, to be whole without needing their attention to validate your worth. And the most powerful shift happens quietly. You start sleeping better. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You smile without reason. That constant anxiety begins to fade, replaced by a calm that no one gave you. You built it yourself. That's when you understand the truth. Peace is louder than attention. And while they're busy wondering if you still care, you're out here reclaiming your life. You've stopped chasing, and now they're chasing memories. You've moved forward, and they're stuck replaying the past. That's balance. That's the law of emotional gravity. What you release falls back in time. They might start showing up again, testing the waters, sending small messages, trying to see if that door is still open. But by then, you'll be different. You won't crave their text anymore. You'll analyze it. You won't reply with excitement. You'll reply with calm, if at all. Because when you've been through the fire of silence, you come out forged in peace. You learn that not every call deserves an answer, not every person deserves your energy, and not every story needs a sequel. Remember this: when you stopped chasing, you didn't lose the game. You changed it. You stopped playing by their rules and started living by your own. You stopped begging for attention and started commanding respect. That's the art of emotional control. That's stoicism in motion. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about knowing that caring for yourself matters more than being cared for by someone who never tried. So stay steady, my friends. Let them wonder. Let them miss you. Let silence work its quiet magic while you grow into the kind of person who doesn't need to be seen to know their worth. You are not the same person who used to chase. You're wiser now, calmer, sharper. The game isn't about getting them back anymore. It's about never losing yourself again. Now, take a breath. Feel that strength in your chest. That's your power returning. Go to the comments right now and write, "I don't chase, I attract." Let that be your reminder today. Type it, feel it, own it. Because your silence is not emptiness, it's energy in motion. You're not being ignored, you're being elevated. Number 2, their mind begins to replay you. It starts quietly, not with fireworks, not with regret, but with a strange emptiness they can't explain. At first, they tell themselves they're fine. They distract their mind, scroll endlessly, surround themselves with noise just to drown out the silence you left behind. But the mind, my friends, is a creature of habit. It remembers patterns, familiar words, predictable warmth, the way you said their name, the little things that made ordinary moments feel like home. And when those patterns disappear, the brain doesn't just move on, it starts to panic. It begins searching for the missing rhythm, replaying moments like an unfinished song stuck on repeat. They wake up and for a split second expect your good morning. That small burst of connection that used to start their day feels missing, like a skipped heartbeat. They go to bed, reach for their phone out of instinct, only to realize there's no message waiting. The silence feels louder at night. That's when their mind starts replaying you. The jokes, the comfort, the way you used to ask if they had eaten or how their day went. It's not just nostalgia, it's neurological. Psychology calls it withdrawal reinforcement, and it's the same mechanism that makes us crave what once soothed us. You became their emotional caffeine, and now that it's gone, they're restless. They start to wonder why the world feels slightly off, why songs sound heavier, why food doesn't taste the same, why no one makes them laugh quite like you did. They may even try to convince themselves they've moved on, go out, meet new people, keep busy. But the mind doesn't lie. The moment the noise fades, you return. Not in person, but in memory. You exist in the quiet space between their distractions, in the pause between their thoughts. They scroll past something that reminds them of you. Maybe a quote, a scent, a laugh that sounds like yours. And there it is again, that ache. That realization that what they once dismissed was actually the thing that made them feel alive. And here's the beautiful irony. Your silence is the one doing the talking now. Every time they replay you in their mind, your presence becomes more vivid. You're not chasing, not explaining, not reminding them of what they lost. Their own thoughts are doing it for you. That's the power of stillness. Jung once said, "What you resist persists." The more they try to suppress your memory, the deeper it roots itself in their subconscious. Because emotion doesn't vanish with distance, it lingers, it transforms, it matures. You have become their unfinished chapter, the one they keep revisiting but can't close. And maybe you're wondering why this even matters. Maybe you think, if they didn't value me then, why would missing me change anything now? But this isn't about them anymore. This is about understanding your worth. You see, your energy was the rhythm that brought calm to their chaos, warmth to their coldness, meaning to their routine. You weren't ordinary, you were grounding. And when something that grounding disappears, the void it leaves behind becomes unbearable. That's why they replay you, not just to remember you, but to feel balanced again. But here's the truth, my friends. They can replay you 1,000 times, and it still won't bring you back. Because silence changes the one who uses it. You've grown. You've learned that peace doesn't beg to be seen. You've realized that your presence was never meant to be background noise. It was music, and they didn't know how to listen. Now your absence plays louder than your words ever did. So stay still, stay strong, stay unbothered. Don't break the silence just because they finally feel it. Let their thoughts do the chasing now. Because every replay, every restless night, every what-if that crosses their mind, it's proof that you mattered more than they were ready to admit. Now take a breath and remind yourself, you don't chase, you attract. Go to the comments right now and write, "I am their peace they lost." That's your affirmation today. Type it, feel it, own it. Because the moment you stopped being their pattern, you became their lesson. Number 3, the law of emotional contrast. There's a strange thing that happens when someone loses a constant presence. The world suddenly feels different. It's like walking into a room where the music used to play and realizing it's gone silent. At first, they don't notice it. They think they're fine. They fill their days with noise, new faces, new distractions, hoping to replace what's missing. But soon, that contrast begins to speak louder than anything else. Your calmness becomes a memory that doesn't fade. It becomes a mirror that reflects what they lack. They start noticing it in moments they didn't expect. The laughter that sounds forced, the conversations that feel hollow, the comfort that never quite settles in. Your energy lingers, not because you're still there, but because nothing else feels as real. It's the law of emotional contrast. When something pure disappears, everything else feels shallow. They may meet people who look good, sound confident, even seem exciting for a while, but deep down, they know something's missing. You see, they were used to your peace. That rare, steady energy that didn't demand attention but gave it effortlessly. Now, surrounded by surface-level noise, they start to crave that stillness. They crave you. Not the version they ignored, but the version they didn't understand until it was gone. And that's the irony. Sometimes people must lose peace to realize it wasn't boredom. It was love in its most mature form. Carl Jung once said, "People don't meet fate by appointment, they stumble upon it." That's how your presence worked. You stumbled into their life and unknowingly brought balance. You gave without conditions, listened without judgment, and cared without keeping score. That kind of energy leaves an imprint, and once it's gone, their world feels off balance. They can't explain why. They'll tell themselves, "It's not a big deal," or "I'm fine," but their heart knows the truth. They've stepped out of light and into shadow. They'll try to replicate what they had with you, but the universe doesn't allow copies of authenticity. They'll talk to someone new, laugh at a joke, maybe even post pictures trying to look happy, but inside there's a quiet awareness. This doesn't feel the same. That's emotional contrast. It's the sting that follows after taking something genuine for granted. You can't fake peace. You can't replace emotional depth with distraction. What you gave was rare, not in grand gestures, but in simplicity. You brought calm where they brought chaos, understanding where they brought pride, consistency where they brought uncertainty. And now the absence of that balance becomes their teacher. They realize that no matter how many people they meet, your energy was different. It wasn't the loudest, but it was the most grounding. Stoic wisdom says value becomes visible only through loss. And isn't that the truth? When something becomes too familiar, it starts to feel invisible. You were their quiet safety net, always there to catch them until you stopped being there. Now they look around and find that no one catches them the same way. The comfort they once took for granted now feels like the oxygen they can't find. But don't confuse their realization with your responsibility. It's not your job to return just because they finally see your worth. This contrast is part of their growth, just as silence is part of yours. Life has a way of teaching people through imbalance. It breaks what's careless and it rebuilds what's genuine. They're learning what you already discovered. Not everything constant should be chased, and not every loss deserves to be repaired. So stand firm in your calm. Don't lower your peace to match their noise again. Let them feel the weight of the contrast. That's how understanding takes root. You don't need to prove that you were special. Time is already doing that for you. And as they drift through surface connections, they'll remember, your stillness wasn't emptiness. It was depth. It was strength. It was love without performance. So breathe, my friends. Let your calm be the proof of everything you once tried to explain. Because one day, they'll see clearly what their pride once blurred. You were the rare one. The peace they mistook for dullness was the treasure they'll never find again. Now go to the comments and write, "My calm is my power." Say it with conviction. That's your reminder tonight. You don't need to be louder. You just need to be real. Number 4. The unseen echo. How absence haunts the mind. You might think they've moved on, my friends. You might look at their posts, their smiles, their so-called new life, and believe they've forgotten. But don't be fooled by appearances. Silence has a strange way of working, not immediately, not loudly, but deeply. It's like an echo in a canyon. The sound disappears for a while before it comes back, slower, softer, yet heavier. Your absence became that echo. It travels through their days, through their conversations, through the quiet moments when no one is watching, and then suddenly it hits them. At first it's small. A random song plays in the background, and for a few seconds they're back there, back in that moment with you. Maybe it's the same song that played in your car, or one you used to hum while cleaning up together. The melody catches them off guard. Their chest tightens. They try to shake it off, but that's how echoes work. You can't stop them once they start. Then it's something else, a scent, a phrase, a memory triggered by accident. They laugh at a joke someone else makes, and for a moment they hear your laugh. It's faint, but it's there. That's when it begins, the haunting of what once was. Psychologists call it emotional imprinting. When two people share deep moments, the mind stores them like permanent ink. It doesn't fade easily, so even when they move on physically, their subconscious still carries pieces of you. The way you looked at them when they spoke, the tone in your voice when you said their name, the warmth in your presence that made ordinary moments feel safe. These fragments don't vanish. They echo. They return in dreams, in stillness, in the quiet hours when their distractions finally sleep. They might tell themselves they're over you, but the mind has its own truth. You live in the small spaces between their thoughts. That's where echoes thrive, not in the noise, but in the silence that follows it. Late at night, when the world slows down and the masks fall away, that's when it hits them. The loneliness they once ignored now has your shape. The peace they thought they'd find in leaving now feels hollow. That's how absence works. It doesn't just haunt, it teaches. It shows them what mattered by taking it away. And maybe you wonder, do they really feel it? Do they really think of me like I think of them? The answer is yes, but differently. You see, your thoughts are pure reflection, theirs are quiet realization. You think about how it felt, they think about what they lost. You wonder if they miss you. They wonder why they can't forget you. That's not coincidence, that's consequence. You planted memories that time can't erase, because they weren't just moments, they were meaning. You gave something real in a world that keeps chasing illusions, and that kind of truth doesn't vanish. It echoes. So don't mistake silence for indifference. Don't assume their calm means they've forgotten. People don't forget peace, they just hide from it until the noise gets too loud. One day, something small, maybe the rain, maybe a certain smell in the air, will break through their walls, and they'll feel you again. Not as a person they knew, but as a presence they can't replace. Your absence will walk through their memory like a ghost that doesn't fade, only softens. And here's what I want you to remember. That echo doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you too. It's proof that you mattered, that your love left a mark deeper than words. You don't need to chase anyone to stay remembered. You became unforgettable the moment you loved without pretending, the moment you walked away with grace instead of noise. So stay silent, stay grounded, and let the echoes speak. Because while they're haunted by memories, you're healing through peace. You're not stuck in their past. They're stuck in your absence. That's power, my friends. That's presence beyond presence. Now, go to the comments and write, "My absence echoes loud." Say it with calm conviction. That's your reminder today. You don't need to be seen to be felt. Number 5. They start to compare everyone to you. It always happens slowly, almost invisibly, but it happens. They start to compare everyone to you. They don't plan to, they don't even want to, but the mind can't help it. Every new person they meet becomes a faint echo of what they once had with you. They sit across from someone new, someone who laughs at their jokes, someone who tries to understand them. But deep down, there's a quiet voice whispering, "This isn't the same." They try to silence it, but it grows louder each time. That's the curse of losing something real. Everything after feels slightly artificial. At first, they'll tell themselves it's just nostalgia. They'll say, "I just miss the old days," or "I'm just comparing too much." But it's not nostalgia. It's emotional contrast again, amplified by regret. They can't stop measuring everyone against you because your energy wasn't a phase, it was stability. You didn't just fill their time, you filled their emotional gaps. You brought warmth without chaos, care without games, and peace without conditions. Now, when they meet someone new, they look for that same peace. They search for your patience, your tone, your way of seeing through their defenses. But no one else carries your calm. No one else listens the same way. No one else feels like home. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." And now they're beginning to understand. The things that once made them restless about you, your calmness, your discipline, your emotional distance, were never flaws. They were depth. They were things they didn't yet understand because they were still shallow in their own reflection. But now they see it. They see that your silence was composure, your patience was wisdom, and your love was rare. They didn't lose someone ordinary. They lost someone irreplaceable. They'll try to find you in others. They'll chase different faces, hoping to recreate the same feeling. They might even convince themselves they've found it again, until they realize it doesn't last. Because what you gave them wasn't chemistry. It was connection. It wasn't adrenaline. It was alignment. You see, anyone can make them excited, but very few can make them grounded. And that's what you did. You made them feel safe without them even realizing it. Now, every smile feels forced, every touch feels different, and every good morning text feels like an imitation of what used to be natural with you. Psychology explains this as idealization through distance. The moment something becomes unreachable, the brain polishes the memory of it. You become brighter in their thoughts, softer in their regrets. The bad moments fade, the good ones grow. You become the maybe one day person, the one they look back on when they feel empty inside. They start saying things like, "No one makes me feel like they did," or "They just got me in a way others don't." But that realization doesn't come with peace. It comes with ache. Because now they see the truth that arrived too late. What they took for granted was one of a kind. And maybe, just maybe, they'll try to reach out. They'll test the waters with a message, a memory, something casual. But it won't be casual for them. It'll be the first sign of them breaking, admitting that no matter where they go, they're still walking in your shadow. And you, my friends, will feel no need to chase that echo anymore. Because once you become someone's standard, you don't have to prove anything again. You've already become the measurement by which all others fail. That's the quiet power of your evolution. You turned pain into presence, chaos into calm, and loss into lesson. You stopped competing, and in doing so, you became incomparable. They can keep searching, but they'll keep finding reflections that never quite match the original, because there's only one you, steady, rare, unforgettable. So stay grounded in that truth. Don't shrink yourself for the comfort of those who only learned your worth in hindsight. Let them compare. Let them chase shadows. Let them dream. You've already moved forward into the light of self-respect. Now go to the comments and write, "I am the standard." That's your reminder tonight. Short, sharp, powerful. Say it and feel it. You are not waiting to be chosen anymore. You have become the one they'll never stop remembering. Number 6. The return of regret. Regret doesn't knock loudly. It creeps in softly, like fog slipping under a closed door, slow, quiet, and heavy. At first, they don't recognize it. They call it curiosity. They tell themselves they're just checking in, just wondering how you've been, just scrolling through your old photos out of boredom. But that's how it always begins. The mind pretends to be casual, but the heart knows better. Because regret never arrives with a warning. It comes dressed as memory. They start to replay the past in fragments. A message you once sent. A picture they still have saved but forgot to delete. The sound of your laughter in a video. Each small reminder turns into a mirror they can't escape. They look at those moments and realize how many times they were careless, how many times they could have said something kinder, how many chances they had to hold on but chose pride instead. That's when it begins to sting, not because you're gone, but because they finally understand what it cost them for you to leave. You see, regret is the universe's way of forcing reflection. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For a long time, they lived unconsciously, taking your love, your patience, your consistency for granted. They thought you'd always be there. They thought your loyalty was infinite. But now, as they sit in silence, the truth becomes conscious. It wasn't infinite, it was intentional. It was a gift they mishandled, and that realization doesn't leave easily. Maybe they see something on social media, you smiling, glowing, living in peace, and suddenly they feel that ache in their chest. That's not jealousy. That's recognition. They recognize that you've healed in ways they still can't. They see that the peace they once overlooked has become your new power. They scroll through old conversations, not because they miss the small talk, but because they miss the version of themselves that felt loved when they talked to you. That's the thing about regret. It doesn't just remind them of you, it reminds them of who they were when they had you. And while they may never say it out loud, it lives in them, that quiet guilt, that what if. It shows up in the late-night thoughts, in the moments they can't sleep, in the flashbacks that hit out of nowhere. It's a voice that whispers, "You shouldn't have let them go." And they'll try to silence it, try to move on, try to fill that space with someone else, but you can't patch a soul-deep wound with temporary company. You were not a phase, you were a foundation. They didn't just lose a person, they lost stability, comfort, and the rare kind of connection that asks for nothing but presence. You don't have to seek revenge or validation. Time is doing that work for you. Regret is their silent punishment, a teacher that never stops repeating the lesson. It will follow them into new relationships, into quiet moments, into every almost that never feels right. They will keep searching for your energy, your warmth, your calm. But what they won't realize until much later is that you didn't just love them, you healed them. And healing like that doesn't happen twice. So don't wish for their apology, don't wait for their realization. You've already won the moment you walked away in peace. Regret doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. Let it stay there. Your silence created space for their truth to echo back. They are haunted not by your absence, but by their own choices. That's justice in its quietest form. My friends, remember this. Those who mistreat gold often end up chasing glitter. But one day they realize the shine doesn't last. And by then it's too late. So breathe easy. The universe saw it all, and it balanced the scales without you having to lift a finger. You didn't lose something real. They did. Now go to the comments and write, "They regret losing me." Say it with calm certainty, not pride, but truth. That's your affirmation tonight. You've moved past the pain, and they're just beginning to feel it. Number 7. Silence as your power move. Most people think peace comes from closure, from that final talk, that explanation, that one message where everything is said and tied neatly like a bow. But, my friends, the truth is, closure is often just a craving for control. We want to understand why. We want to be heard. We want them to see our worth. But the real peace, the one that lasts, comes the moment you stop needing to be understood. When you realize that silence isn't weakness, it's mastery. Because when you stop chasing answers, you stop giving away your power. You stop performing for people who never deserved the front row seat to your pain. Silence, when used wisely, is one of the most powerful languages of strength. It's calm, it's controlled, it's deliberate. It's you saying, "I could speak, but I don't need to." Stoic philosophy teaches that restraint is the highest form of self-control, that a person who can govern their emotions governs their destiny. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And that's what silence does. You don't mirror their chaos, you respond with peace. You don't throw words into the fire, you let the fire burn itself out. At first, they'll mistake your silence for weakness. They'll think you're avoiding, that you've given up, that maybe you don't care anymore. But as time passes, that silence becomes something they can't ignore. Because silence holds a mirror to their actions. It forces reflection. They start asking themselves questions they never asked before. Why did they stop trying? Why didn't they respond? Why does it feel so heavy now that they're gone? And the answer, though they'll never admit it out loud, is simple. Your silence exposed the truth they were too distracted to see. You see, words often defend the ego, but silence defends the soul. You don't need to explain who you are to someone who was blind to it the first time. The absence of your reaction is your greatest statement. It says, I trust the universe to reveal what words cannot. You're no longer fighting to be seen. You're allowing time to make your presence unforgettable, because in that quiet, they start to feel the imbalance. Your calm used to stabilize their chaos. Now, without it, everything around them feels unsteady. Their peace depended on your energy, and now that energy is gone. And maybe it's not easy. Maybe you still have moments when you want to break the silence, when your heart screams to reach out just once more. That's natural. You're human. But remember this. Every time you stay quiet, you strengthen your self-respect. Every time you resist the urge to prove your worth, you train your mind to choose dignity over desperation. That's not detachment. That's discipline. Silence isn't running away from emotion. It's mastering it. It's standing still while the world expects you to break. They will come to remember you not through your words, but through your absence, because silence has a strange power. It makes people listen after it's too late. They'll start to recall your tone, your presence, your calm, and realize that what they mistook for simplicity was wisdom. You were never loud because you didn't need to be. Your peace was the message. Your restraint was the proof. And now, every time they think of you, they'll hear that silence, and it will sound like truth. So, my friends, don't be afraid of quiet. Don't rush to fill the void. Let it work for you. Let it protect you. Let it speak for you. Because your silence isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of their realization. What they once ignored is now the only thing they can't escape. That's what real power looks like. Calm, patient, inevitable. Now go to the comments and write, "My silence is my power." Let that be your affirmation tonight. Type it, feel it, believe it. Because every moment you stay composed, you rise higher. Number 8. The moment they realize what they lost. And one day it happens, not with an announcement, not with drama, but in silence. Maybe it's late at night when the world slows down and there's no one left to impress. They'll scroll through old photos, maybe pause on one where your smile was genuine, where they can almost feel your energy again. And in that moment, it hits them, not just what they lost, but who they lost. They'll realize your silence wasn't revenge, it was clarity. You weren't trying to punish them, you were protecting your peace. That's when they finally see the truth. Love without respect means nothing, and attention without appreciation fades fast. You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. Now, your absence is the mirror reflecting everything they refused to see when you were there. And as they sit with that ache, they'll wish for one more chance, one more conversation, one more day with the peace they once took for granted. My friends, that's when you'll know. You didn't lose them, they lost you. Now go to the comments and write, "They'll remember my worth." Say it, feel it, believe it, because now they finally do. And that, my friends, brings us full circle. The truth is simple. Silence was never your weakness. It was your awakening. You didn't lose anything by walking away. You found yourself in the calm that followed. Let them remember, let them replay, let them regret. Your peace is the final word. If this message spoke to your heart, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and strength every week. Stay grounded, stay silent, stay powerful, because your story of peace has just begun.